The crypto gold rush, which arguably started on the US West Coast, has now reached New York City. The world's financial capital wants to stay and wants to ensure that it has a role in crypto, and indeed wants to ensure that the big Apple is a crypto center in the future. And it sees blockchain as very much part of that future. As a result, it's hosting the largest ever blockchain job fair. It's part of New York's Blockchain Week. And later in the program, you're going to hear from the head of New York's Economic Development Corporation, who will talk about why New York and what New York believes it can do in this regard. First, though, the problem for the casual investor is understanding exactly what blockchain is.
To get started on the blockchain, you need computer power. Each computer on the blockchain is known as a node. And here's where the trust comes in.
When a transaction happens between two users, the request is broadcast to the whole network. The amount and a digital key representing each user. The other nodes on the network verify it and then add it to a shared digital database organized into blocks.
We all have access to the data. Nothing can be deleted or changed, so no one can cheat.
The fact the database is maintained by everyone on the network means financial transactions can happen without a bank, contracts without a lawyer, in theory, even voting without a central election authority.
So far, Bitcoin is the most notorious use of blockchain technology. Highly volatile, down 40% so far. You remember back in January we were up here. Now it comes back up and then it goes down. And you get the idea. Year-to-date change down 40.3%. But that hasn't dampened interest, which is the interesting thing, because even though blockchain, Bitcoin itself has been very volatile, there is an acceptance that blockchain is the way of the future. So not surprisingly, this conference, this crypto conference, has been sold out with an estimated 17 million in ticket sales. The chief executive of the organizers says that blockchain is everyone's opportunity and everyone's problem now.
There's probably not one Fortune 500 company CEO who's not turning to their chief technology officer and is saying, what is our blockchain strategy, or how should we think about this?
No question, blockchain is the future. Claire Sebastian is at the Consensus Conference in New York to explain even more about how the Big Apple hopes to ensure it has a large chunk and slice.
Yeah, Richard, the whole point of this event was not only to bring together the key brains and the new companies in blockchain, but also to show that it's reaching the masses. And how better to do that than through the medium of beer? This is a beer vending machine. And how do you get access?
So in order to get access, you download the Civic ID and you will create on the mobile app a representation of yourself on the blockchain.
Now I have to verify myself.
Right.
And the first thing he wants me to do is to take a selfie.
Yep.
All right.
And you're verified.
Completed. Okay, great.
So now what's happening is your identity is being created on the blockchain.
Start.
And then you'll open up the camera and then just scan the code. It will simply find out that you are of age and it will serve you a beer.
And it's serving me a beer?
Yes.
And that's all on the blockchain?
That's all on the blockchain.
All right.
Voila. Enjoy.
So, Richard, I had to upload my driving license. I had to take a picture of myself. You may think that's a lot of data to hand over just for a beer, but the company says that that's only stored on your phone, and they create a hash of it, and that's what goes on the blockchain. So that really does give you control over your data in a time, of course, when many people are questioning data storage by tech companies. But look, you talked about this as an event for New York City, so I want to bring in James Patchett. He's the president and CEO of the New York Economic Development Council. James, does New York City want to be for blockchain what Silicon Valley is for tech and the internet?
Yeah, you know, what's amazing about blockchain is that we're really at the ground floor of blockchain. New York City is already a leader in so much innovation. I mean, the amazing excitement going on at this conference today, over 8,000 people here from 6 continents around the world. It's pretty remarkable. It goes to show you that New York is already a leader. And frankly, it's our job at the Economic Development Corporation to be investing in innovation all the time. 21st century innovations, whatever's going to be changing our economy, whether that's virtual reality, cybersecurity, life sciences, or blockchain.
And you are running a jobs fair as we speak right now. I mean, do you think there will be real economic impact on New York's economy if you manage to bring widespread adoption of blockchain and new applications?
So 2 years ago, there were 50 open jobs in New York City in blockchain. Right now, there are about 800. Goes to show you the remarkable exponential growth in jobs in blockchain. Right now, at that job fair, people are actually actively recruiting for people. They want new employees. You know, there's a gap in the number of people in tech industries, and like New Yorkers are ready for those jobs. And we believe this has a potential to be a multi-billion-dollar industry in New York City.
And I want to ask you a difficult question, because one thing that New York has grappled with in the past, particularly when it comes to cryptocurrencies, is regulation.
Right.
How is there a right way to do this? How do you foster this kind of innovation without driving people out with too much regulation?
Yeah, you know, I am completely confident that in New York we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can protect consumers and at the same time foster innovation. We've done it for centuries. You know, we invented the ATM here, the MRI machine. We even invented the Oreo, which in some ways is the precursor to blockchain. Complicated technology, but perfect. I think, you know, we really are excited to be opening. We announced this week a new blockchain resource center. That resource center is really going to be a venue to connect entrepreneurs and investors with regulators in the city so that they can have those direct conversations. Regulators want to protect consumers, but they don't want to interfere with innovation. And that's really what we believe in.
Perfect, James. Thank you so much. So, Richard, there you have it. Blockchain compared to the Oreo, complicated but perfect.
Beer, Oreos, who knows what's next? Claire Sebastian, who is at the conference. Eric Irvin is the chief executive of Reality Shares, running an ETF, exchange-traded fund, that allows people to invest in blockchain-related technologies. Joins me from New York. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
Your ETF launched in January, and it has sort of held its own. I think it's just $1 or $2 lower than its IPO price. So there's clearly a lot of interest in what's happening. Where are you funding? Where are you investing? Which underlying shares are within the ETF?
Yeah, the ETF itself is based on publicly traded companies. So what we wanted to do was go out and thinking about this as an innovation. It really is a technological innovation, much like the internet. And just like the internet, where email was kind of the first killer app that allowed everyone access to see the power behind the internet, but yet there was so much more behind it. Bitcoin was kind of the first killer app of the blockchain. Now you can take, you have companies like NASDAQ, for example, who's building out an entire stock exchange based on blockchain technology to where shares could be transferred from one person to another without the need of a broker in the middle. Custodians, like so much GDP in the financial system is spent on custody. And
does that mean that your ETF pretty much has a very wide berth of what can be within it?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, it's based on an index, and we developed this index with the help of a blockchain advisory board of industry experts. But what we do is we score each company, each publicly traded company, in 7 different areas in order to come up with a blockchain score, which is really kind of a window into how much are they doing in the blockchain space and how much revenue they could possibly generate from blockchain if it's a wild success. And then we rank those companies and rebalance the portfolio every 6 months based on that ranking system.
How are we going to see companies? I mean, obviously there are a myriad of companies involved in the protocols and the, if you like, the back engine part of blockchain. But we're starting to see the banks, the financial institutions, explore ways in which blockchain can be used for their purposes too. How big is this going to get?
Well, that's just it. It's one of these innovations. Again, like who would have thought 20 years after the internet we would have another potential internet boom? And this internet boom is really the internet of money, and it's the internet of things coming onto a central database or a decentralized database. So these systems could, in fact, disintermediate the banks entirely. But that's not going to be the case for the next 5 to 10 years. Next 20 years, yes, but not the next 5 to 10. Cool. So banks are using this in order to reduce costs, to give the consumer a much better offering, really, and a cheaper and better offering.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you. We'll talk more about it and we'll watch your ETF in the future. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
As we continue